This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
Will AI agents be more than a buzzword in 2025? Will AI drive the price of professional services down? And will AGI lead to an inevitable introduction of UBI? We're 20 seconds in and we already have alphabet soup. Well, I'm going to be talking about those things and a whole lot more on this first episode of a special edition of Everyday AI. This week, for 5 straight days, I'm going to be bringing you 5 at a time, but the 25 biggest and boldest AI predictions for 2025. All right. I hope you're excited to tackle those questions and a lot more with me on Everyday AI. So what's going on, y'all? My name is Jordan Wilson. I'm the host of Everyday AI. This thing's for you. It is a daily live stream, podcast, and free daily newsletter helping everyday people like you and me not just learn AI, but how we can leverage it to grow our companies and our careers. If that sounds like you, you are in for a treat. I have been working on this series technically for like 11 months now. So this is going to be something, if you want to understand where the future of AI lies and how that's going to impact your department, your job, your small business, the enterprise company that you work for, you are definitely going to want to tune in today and the rest of the week. You're also going to want to go to youreverydayai.com. While you're there, you can sign up for our free daily newsletter. Also, there's hundreds of hours of free AI education, interviews, YouTube videos. Everything is on the website. It's all there for free by category. All right. Enough. Let's get straight into it. And well, let me talk about why we're doing this AI prediction show. Well, I'm lucky enough. I do this every day. Everyday AI. It's not just a saying. This is what I do every day. I've talked to the smartest people in the world in AI, from the leaders at companies like Microsoft, Google, IBM, to fast-growing startups. Right? I've had hundreds of guests on the show this year, and I've had another 100 or more conversations, kind of quote unquote offline. And this series is it is not a celebration, but it's almost just a result of those thousands of hours of conversations that I've had. But I always think to myself late at night, I have so much information floating around in my brain from messages I receive from people at these big companies, from old podcast guests as I go back and listen to them, some super smart people. And I start to connect the dots, right? Yeah, eventually I do it, right? Until my brain is all AI one day, right? I stumble upon things, and throughout the year, I write these things down. I text myself. I, put little like sticky notes. And for the past 2 months, I've been compiling all these. So like I said, over the next 5 days, I'm going to be bringing you 5 AI predictions each day for a total of 25 predictions for 2025. All right. And I did this last year as well. And the reason I'm doing it again is because I had people reaching out to me even in like October who were like, yo, I just listened to your show. And the fact that you said these things like in December or January of last year, insane, right? So yeah, I went back. I even did a midterm report card on my original bold predictions for 2024. And I think I got like 21 of them right. And the other 3 were just like TBD, right? Or couldn't really give myself a grade on those. So without further ado, let's get into it. This category that we're going to be going over today, these 5 predictions, we're calling it the complete AI business revolution: agents, wages, and what's next. All right, I'm not going to make you wait any longer for the 5 predictions that we're going to be going over today. So number 25, agent orchestrators will be a growing position. 24, public companies will post jobs for AI agents. 23, company reasoning data collection. 22, high-end professional services will go through a pricing crisis. And 21, UBI becomes a household conversation. All right. Hey, live stream audience. Technically, this is a pre-recorded one. If you still want your daily AI news, that's going to be in the newsletter. But tell me right now, out of these numbers on the screen, which one is going to be the most likely to happen in 2025? And which one is going to be the least likely? I'm always curious. You can just put most, if you think agent orchestrators is going to be the most likely, just put most 25, least 23, right? I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to fact check me and see how crazy some of these are or how realistic they are. All right, let's start with agent operators. All right, here's the thing, y'all. Yeah, we already know 2025, the year of the AI agents. Yeah, we know. I'm not going to do y'all like that. That's not going to be the first prediction I give you. Everyone knows. My mom knows 2025, the year of the agents, whatever, right? We all know that. It's already here, right? It's already here. And we've already seen it with Microsoft Copilot Studios, autonomous agents. We've seen it with Salesforce, their agent force. Autonomous agents. We're seeing it with OpenAI's, and we'll be seeing it with OpenAI's operator, their agents. We're seeing it and we'll see it as it continues to roll out with Google's Project Mariner. So this has already started to happen. So I'm not going to make a kind of a weak AI prediction to start off with and be like, AI agents are going to take over. No. Agent orchestrators. I'm just going to call them AOs, right? This is going to be a thing, all right? Recent studies showed that 75% of companies plan to adopt AI agent technologies in the next 5 years. So it's kind of flipping this dynamic of how we've been working with generative AI and large language models on its head over the last 2 or 3 years, right? How this usually works is you get a team of people, and this is how larger enterprise organizations generally start to roll out, AI or large language models. It starts with a few rogue individuals who are maybe using it and they're not supposed to be using it, right? And then it goes to a broader team. From there, it usually goes to a small team. And then you have a small team usually working with one AI system, right? And they're collaborating and saying, oh, how did you do this? Hey, we're getting hallucinations here. Should we look at an external RAG system? Should we be using, built-in, projects from ChatGPT or Claude, whatever, right? But it's usually a group of people working around one AI system or large language model. We're going to see that flipped. Not only are we going to see that flipped, but we are going to see public companies actually hiring or having positions open for agent orchestrators. There might be a different name. I'm going to call them AOs. Hopefully that sticks, right? Last year, a lot of people started using a term that I threw out there. It was called like second computer AI or something like that, right? But I think we're going to see agent operators, agent orchestrators, where one human, their only job is going to be orchestrating. Probably it's going to start with a dozen or so, but eventually thousands, right? I think of it like air traffic controllers, right? Think of that. You have a group of, I don't know, in the movies, right? You see it's like, oh, five to 10 people in this room, but they are orchestrating hundreds of flights at the same time, right? Like I'm in Chicago, we have O'Hare Airport, Midway Airport, and I assume there's literally people up there in the towers, right? Like there are in the movies, and they're watching the skies and making sure all of these airplanes, which are largely autonomous, are doing their jobs, right? Humans overseeing autonomous technology to make sure everything is going right. They're orchestrating air traffic. That's what I think we're going to see in actual position, and it's going to be a growing and trending one, right? Like 3 years ago, it was, prompt engineers, right? That kind of died off. But I think we're going to actually see this. So um, in early pilots, they said that there was about roughly 7 hours saved per week per knowledge worker who was using multiple agents. This is, it's all unofficial. It's all early. All this, multi-agentic kind of workflow in scenarios is brand new. All right, we're moving on to the next one. I'm going to try to do this all 5 in less than 25 minutes. So let's see if I can actually do this. Y'all know I'm long-winded, but that's why I'm breaking these 25 predictions up into 5 different shows coming back for you all week. All right, so next, 24. Public companies will post jobs for AI agents. Yes, these two are sort of related. So data is already showing, right? 65% of organizations surveyed in the US are already using generative AI, which is kind of baffling to me because it's like, are the other 35% lying to themselves? Or are they just going to be going out of business soon, right? Imagine if there was a survey right now that said 65% of companies are using the internet, right? So if you are in that minority of companies that aren't using generative AI, that's weird. Anyways, I think we're in the same way we kind of transitioned out of lockdown COVID into hybrid workforce. Right? I think employers saw like, hey, to retain, our top employees after going work from home for an extended period of time, we need to have a hybrid workforce, and we're going to have that with agents, right? Literally, I see in 2025, and maybe they do it just to make a splash, right? Like how public companies, there was all these studies, like the more time you threw in AI buzzwords into your earnings call. Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI. Like there's actually a study that said like your stock price went up higher, right? Because investors love to hear RAG, large language model, agentic, right? But now it's going to be. I do see at least one public company, a lot of enterprise companies, but I do see one public company posting jobs for agents. It is going to be. This is not a job for humans. Humans need not apply. This is for agents, right? Might sound weird, but I'm not going to come to you with weak AI predictions, right? Also, analysts expect a 20 to 25% cost reduction using more agentic roles. All right. What do you guys think, right? It's using agents, it's inevitable, right? Especially if you are a knowledge worker. If you listen to the show, you probably know what that means. But a knowledge worker is anyone that sits in front of their computer, right? Bangs away on their keyboard, clicks on their mouse, and they get paid to use their brain, stare at information on the computer, process something, and perform an action, right? When we talk about autonomous agents, what that means, it lives in different formats, right? Sometimes it's pre-programmed and we have more narrow applications. And sometimes we have agents that are more programmable in general and can do a lot of different tasks across a variety of applications. But I do think that we are going to see these multi-agent systems not only being common, and like the first prediction, companies hiring for people that will just orchestrate agents, but I do see companies hiring just agents, right? And right now your team, you might have 5 of you in Chicago, 2 on the East Coast, 3 on the West Coast, whatever, right? Probably you're going to have literally dedicated agents that your company is paying, right? Either by the hour, one-time fees, by the task completion. I don't really know. I don't think Salesforce's kind of approach with charging, like, I think it's like $2 per conversation for Agentforce. I don't think charging like per in action is going to work out necessarily well. I think charging per results, but I think that's going to be a huge potential economy in 2025, 2026 and beyond, right? Think of something like, Upwork, or think of something like Fiverr, right? Where you can go on and there's all these different people offering services, right? I already know there's people on those that are doing that all autonomously anyways, right? But I think there's going to be a thriving marketplace for this, right? So whether one of the big companies want to do that or not, we'll see, right? There's already things like the GPT store. So I do see in the future, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Meta, et cetera, having agentic stores, right? Where people essentially, if you build like an agentic workflow in Zapier, as an example, something like that. I don't know how credentialing will work, right? If you have to give it access to all of your data. So maybe it's something that can only live in something like a Microsoft 365 Copilot, or something that can live in a ChatGPT enterprise setup. And, maybe there's going to be a central file management system where anything that you upload into ChatGPT, any agents in this kind of agent ecosystem can access all of that information. So we'll see how it actually plays out, but that's a big one. I see public companies doing that. Speaking of companies making moves, this is one. I see company reasoning data collection. Here's what that means. I think some of the companies that benefited most from the generative AI boom, right? Even though a lot of people think it started with, ChatGPT in November 2022, it started a little bit sooner. I think once OpenAI largely made its GPT technology available to many companies in early, I think it was actually late 2020, so about 2 years. 2 years before ChatGPT, I think a lot of companies were smart and they started very early on turning all of their unstructured data into structured data, or at least collecting all of their unstructured data, right? So, emails, meetings, speeches, keynotes, right? Like all these different things. So then as large language models got more capable, and as we see reasoning models as well, they were ready. They had all their data ready, and they started converting, right, unstructured data into structured data, right? Turning natural conversations, emails, right, like using large language models to also turn that into structured data, right? Large language models do really, really well with structured data. If you know what you're doing, if you know the basics of prompt engineering, you can really squeeze a lot of business value out of unstructured data as well as structured. But I see, for prediction, technically the third one, number 23 in our list as we're counting them down, reasoning data collection. Okay, so what that means, we've already seen a pretty early on explosion of reasoners, right? So OpenAI was the first with O1 preview, O1 mini. Now we have O1 the full model and O1 Pro. Love an O1 Pro, by the way. I use it all the time. But we also have now Gemini 2 Flash Thinking. With Amazon Nova, they have a reasoning file. So, a reasoning model. So essentially, if you're lost and you're like, what the heck is going on? Think of large language models. I'm going to oversimplify this. So, if you're a machine learning researcher, or if you have your PhD in AI, just allow me to, a little leeway here. think of large language models, classify them in two different categories. So you have your quote unquote traditional large language models, your transformers. So think of, GPT 4.0, think of Claude 3.5 Sonnet, think of Gemini 2 or whatever it is, 12.02, 26 experimental, right? Whatever they call it nowadays. Right. So you have your kind of GPT or your transformer variety, and then you have your reasoners, right? Reasoners is going to be another big buzzword of 2025, so get used to it. A multi-agentic reasoners, right? Maybe we'll stop talking about RAG as much in 2025, right? But you have these reasoning models that essentially do the work. If you had the world's best prompt engineers, right, they're going to spend a lot of time going back and forth and quote unquote prompt engineering a transformer model to get the most out of it. So reasoning models, they kind of do this by themselves. They kind of think logically behind the scenes. People think it's level 1, level 2 thinking, or level 1, level 2 models, right? Your standard large language model will spit out thousands of words of text in like 3 seconds. Reasoning models can sometimes take 3 minutes before they respond, or I've had it think for 10 minutes, right? So it's different. It can solve complex problems, but I think companies are going to start collecting their decision-making process. So right now, there's no way to tune these reasoning models, saying, hey, O1, or maybe if we see O3, here's how you should think. Here's how our company thinks. So the same way that companies can fine tune and put in RAG in traditional quote unquote level 1 GPT transformer models, I see an emerging market for doing the same with reasoners, right? Not just fine tuning them, but teaching them how to think. But before that can become a reality, and thinking of like wrapper companies, and I always take poo-poos on companies that are still out there that are just GPT wrappers and really nothing else, right? It's like, oh, here's essentially ChatGPT, but in a different interface, and you pay, $50 a month. That's dumb. But I see actually a big market for reasoning wrappers as well, but also the data collection side is going to be huge. All right, 2 more on today's episode of our first 5. Here we go. 22. Live stream audience, let me know. Most likely, least likely. What do you think of these so far? Are these hot enough? Tomorrow's Tuesday, so maybe I'll crank up the heat. All right, but high-end professional services will go through a pricing crisis. Y'all aren't going to believe me on this. Buckle up here for a second. Let me take a sip. All right. All right. I didn't put anything on my predictions about big job loss. Did that last year. We saw it. I don't want to focus on the doom and gloom. All right. Here's what I will say. There's, like there was in 2024, I think we're going to see more job loss due to AI than we did we will see more in 2025 than we did in 2024. Here's what happens. It's going to start to hit the professional services. All right. Because I think, when we talk about lawyers, accountants, right? So many of these higher tier professional services, those that adopted early to generative AI, right? I'm saying like 2020, 2021, they're already starting to squash the medium-sized, right? I think smaller, let's just say lawyers, it's easy, right? But think of any management consulting, IT consulting, right? Anything that is usually a high price service that requires, expertise and high price knowledge, right? Those that adopted to AI early, they're doing very well. I think smaller companies can do very well. They have less overhead and they can innovate a little more quickly. I think a lot of the middle players have already started to get squashed. We saw a lot of acquisitions in various sectors. We saw some just fade into oblivion, right? So here's what I think is going to happen. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Big companies that would generally hire a lot, they're just going to stop hiring. Right? Kind of the Klarna approach, companies, big law firms that might normally hire, 100 employees every single year for the last decades. maybe they're going to start hiring 10 instead. So what's going to happen? These people that are losing their jobs or that are unable to find work, software developers, it is so hard. Some of the smartest people that were in the most demand, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, it is hard for them to get a job. Anyways, lawyers, they're going to get laid off en masse. Sorry, anyone in high priced professional services, any sector, really. When layoffs happen, here's what they're going to do. They're going to build companies that are AI native companies that do the thing that they used to do, right? So I think we're going to see things where you can, as an example, pay like, $12, $15, $20 a month for an AI lawyer, right? So you'll be able to escalate something, or I'm sure there's going to be some, some piece, some still human element, right? Maybe you onboard with a lawyer. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be $12 a month. Maybe it'll be $100 a month, but it's going to be extremely affordable. You'll be able to talk to a human on the front and the back end, but everything else in between will be agentic, right? I think we're going to have more options for these high priced services, right? So management consulting, IT professionals, lawyers, right? These things that might cost, $50, $100, $500 an hour. I think we're going to have very affordable options. And here's the other thing. I think your top tier, they're going to keep going. They're going to keep crushing all that, right? But they're going to face these kind of cheap AI spinoffs. And here's the other reality, y'all. There's no way the U.S. economy survives more than like 3 years without this happening, right? Because everyone's like, what happens, right? When, AI is taking more and more jobs and people have less and less money. Well, those people that have less and less money, they're going to create companies that can serve other people that have less money, right? And they'll be able to grow and eventually charge more prices, yada, yada, yada. But I do think we will have this cyclical effect of people who lose their jobs potentially to AI or aren't hired, aren't promoted, et cetera. And then they're going to use AI to leverage their expertise and undercut at 5 to 10% of what it would normally cost. Because right now, big companies that are using AI, they're pocketing the difference. Dirty little secret. All right, our last one for today. UBI becomes a household conversation. All right, so a new Pew study showed that 45% of U.S. adults favor a proposal of universal basic income, or UBI, of about $1,000 per month for all adult citizens. Also, we've seen a lot of big tech CEOs who know what's going on discuss UBI-like buffers, right? Because everyone's worried. What happens in the future, right? What happens when we achieve artificial general intelligence, right? Where all AI systems are smarter than all humans? Or what happens if we start tiptoeing the line between AGI and ASI, artificial superintelligence? That's when AI is developing its own AI and we have embodied AI, right? We have robots that can walk, talk, see, feel, right? Sit down at a keyboard if they need to, but they don't need to because, it's all embodied, right? What happens then? Well, I mean, UBI is going to become a conversation. I obviously don't see it happening in 2025, right? I'm a realist, y'all. I know a lot of people in the, in the AI scene, they're just failed at the NFT thing. I'm a former reporter, right? I read more on AI than I'd like to admit. I talk about it every day, and sometimes I research 3, 4, 5, 6 hours for a single episode. So this is literally all I do. But I don't think UBI is going to happen in 2025. But I think it's going to become a household conversation, right? In the same way, not everyone was using ChatGPT in 2022, but by 2024, it's a household name. Everyone's talking about it, right? ChatGPT has become synonymous with AI. I think UBI is going to have to become a household conversation, right? Very few people right now know what UBI is. It's been around for a very long time. This isn't anything new. This isn't something that is a byproduct of AI's emergence or generative AI's emergence, but the conversation is needed. in 2025, with all that's going to happen, is going to thrust it to every boardroom, classroom, and dining room table near you. All right, y'all, that is it. Look at that. I did an episode in less than 30 minutes. My gosh. All right. I hope this was helpful. If so, please go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter. We're going to be giving you a quick recap, as well as a ton of other stats, facts, and figures that we couldn't fit into today's episode. I wanted to keep these, in the theme of 2025. I wanted to give you guys 25 AI predictions this week. Try to keep the episodes at like 25 minutes or less than 30 minutes. So tomorrow, you're not going to want to miss it. All right. I'll just say that I'm excited. We're going to be talking about AI, when AI market forces collide, global powers, prices, and problems. All right. Hope you enjoyed Volume 1. Join us tomorrow for Volume 2. Can't wait to see you tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.